Hello guys, welcome back to Future Dimensions 360. In today's tutorial, we will be learning about Git architecture and the workflow of GitHub. As I explained you guys in the last tutorial about version control system, so today we will be officially starting with GitHub and its architecture. So what is Git? Git is actually a free and open source distributed version control system designed to handle everything from small to very large project with speed and efficiency. The good thing is that it's free and open source as well. So everyone will choose that to go on with the Git and you can proceed with it. So let's talk about what is the architecture of Git and how it works. In Git, what is there? You have some certain stages in Git. Whenever you are using Git and you had installed Git in your machine and you are managing your software or your development with Git, there are some certain stages. The first stage is that there is a working space, a working directory or a workspace, or it's nothing but just a folder where you guys are saving your programs, where you guys are saving your software code. Secondly, you will be having a staging or index. Staging or index is the part of Git software that is responsible of keeping track on the files those are changed. Like the file you are changing or the code that you are changing within the file, it will keep track on all those files that you guys are changing or a developer is changing. It's responsible for that. Thirdly, there is a Git local repository. Git local repository is actually responsible for keeping track on the changed file inside the local repository within your machine. Like whatever the code you guys are changing, you will take code from the remote repository in your machine. Then whatever the file you will change and whatever the things you are changing, you will keep the track of those files inside staging and index, and then you will save that code inside your local machine or local Git repository. These three modules will work inside your machine, inside your PC. Lastly, there is a GitHub remote repository. GitHub is actually a cloud-based software that manages your repositories online. That is actually responsible for keeping the full software inside it with branches, with versions, with merging, with everything. So it is on the network, so you need network to push the code or to pass the code, whatever you had changed from your local repository to the remote repository. And you can get the code back from the remote repository as well, because always there are a couple of software developers working on the same project. So all of them can take a copy of the appropriate code from the GitHub repository or remote GitHub repository. So first of all, in your working directory or workspace, you will have all the untracked file available inside it, in which you will be changing the file or you will be doing development. You will be implementing some feature. As soon as you are changing the file, you have to add those files in the staging to keep track on the files. What are the files you are going to change? Add command you can use. By using add command, you can tell the Git that what kind of files you want or which files you want to push to your Git local repository. You can put one file name, multiple file, or you can keep all the files also inside it, whatever you are changing, up to you as a developer. Then the tracked file will be appearing inside your staging index, and then those files you can commit them before. As I told you in last video, commit is performed within the working space and the remote repository, but here in distributed environment, your commit will work between the staging or tracked file towards your Git local repository. Here you will keep all the committed file that you want to save in your remote repository. Later on, whatever the files or whatever the part of project you had committed, you want to push it into your remote repository. So you have to pass it to remote repository. You can use push command for that. Let's say there are some software or some code or modules already available in your remote repository. So if there is some code is available in your remote repository and it's not available in your local machine within the same branch where you want to push the code, the Git will not allow you to push the code. Git will tell you to pull the code first and merge it in your local machine and then push it back. Don't disturb the main software. Let's push it in your machine, in your local repository. Resolve your conflicts there, whatever the name conflicts are there, code conflicts are there, line, anything can be as a conflict. Later on we will be learning that also in the coming videos. You have to merge them in your local machine, resolve all the conflict, then pass it to your Git remote repository. Chance of error will be reduced in this scenario. You will not be disturbing the remote repository with buggy code or with some sort of like remote repository will be disturbed with your code that have some sort of conflict. So you will be using in GitHub remote repository, the file those are available will be known as remote files. You will be using pull request to get all the files whatever you want to get the specific branch that you want in your local machine. There will be another command available between working directory and workspace that is known as update between the staging and working directory. And then you can check out some specific files also between the staging index, staging and Git local repository. Other than that, if you want to get the full project in your PC, instead of getting some specific branch, you will be using clone command for that. So clone is responsible to fetch the full project in your machine. You can get the full project and then you can check out any branch you want within that project. You can do changes and you can perform all these actions within your PC. This is how the Git architecture will work. How? There are 4 different modules. One of them is working directory, that is your local workspace. Then staging, that will keep track of the changed file. Then Git local repository, where you will be committing the code or committing the changes that you are doing in your PC. And then there is GitHub remote repository, where the full-fledged remote software is available, from where each other developer can take pull also of your code, and even they can clone the full project as well. So let's say what are the commands that we will be using between the workspace and staging. Mainly there are 2 commands you can use. It's just like for the basic commands, there are certain commands available other than this also, what I'll be explaining you here. But just keep track on these commands because you will be needing these commands too much in your project whenever you will be doing development. Between workspace and staging, you will be using add command or update command. Between staging and Git local repository, you will be using checkout command or commit command. And between the local repository and remote repository, you will be needing push command, pull command and clone command. Push command is to push your code between Git local repository to GitHub remote repository. Pull command is to get the specific code on specific branch. Clone is to clone the full project. As soon as you are cloning the project, Git will automatically create a staging environment and along with the Git local repository within your local machine. Let's say there are 3 different developers. They are working within their PCs by using GitHub. Ultimately, what they have to do is they have to push all that code from their local repository to GitHub remote repository. So all these developers, when they are pushing this code to GitHub remote repository, the GitHub remote repository is actually responsible for versioning the software, branching the software, merging the software. Each branch should be managed within the GitHub remote repository. Each version of your software, 1.01, 1.0.2, 1.0.3, 1.0.4, 1.2, anything you can give versions to your softwares and keep track of each build. Then branching, each software developer will be working on his own branch, or that you can do naming convention according to your company on whatever you want. But at the end, all the code should be merged either in staging branch or in master branch. So these branches, staging and master, are actually responsible for making all the merges in the single software. Then it will allow you to resolve conflicting, it will keep track on conflicts as well, and keep tracking on each file that is being changed in the remote repository from which machine or from which local repository. That will tell you that which developer had done what type of changes. This is the actual mechanism on which Git version control system will work. I hope you guys understand it. In the coming tutorial, we will be explaining how you can install GitHub in your machines. So stay tuned guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. I'll see you soon in the next video. Until then, take care. Goodbye.